Joining us now, Democratic strategist Dave Jacobson and Republican consultant John Thomas. You're saying before the program, what are we going to talk about? Where shall we start? We heard Donald Trump today saying that Michael Flynn was treated, in his words, very, very unfairly by the fake media, basically almost blaming the media and leaks as well for his downfall, rather than the fact that Flynn actually lied about a phone conversation and what was discussed with the Russian ambassador and was fired for it. What did you make of that?
Well, two things. One, I think the leaks are coming from true patriots, and they're whistleblowers, frankly. I mean, this is stuff that needs to get out there into the public realm, number one. But I think Donald Trump's hypocrisy really is beyond the pale. This is a guy who, endorsed Julian Assange and the WikiLeaks, leaks that were coming out from the DNC, from Clinton, throughout the course of the campaign. Donald Trump also, back in July, went up on a podium and said, we asked Russia to hack Hillary Clinton's emails. There's sensitive material in there that wasn't revealed, that's classified. That's essentially what's happening right now, but he was asking for the Russians to do it. So,
I think there are two separate conversations here. One about the leakers, and of course you'd imagine my position would be different, that if our national security apparatus is leaking is dramatically different than Hillary Clinton mishandling her own classified information and being hacked by a foreign government. These are our own people. So that's number one. Number two, what he's talking about with the fake news is, yes, some of it is self-wrought. Michael Flynn did embarrass the vice president. But I think what he means is the media overreached, assuming that there was a quid pro quo, that about what those conversations
we don't know, do we?
Well, and that's the point.
And the other argument, the other question that's being asked is, would Michael Flynn, who's not a dumb guy, would he have gone freelancing to the Russian ambassador to discuss sanctions? And that's the question, I suppose, is that there's going to have to be investigations going forward. Who knew what and when?
Yeah, absolutely. But right now, it's just
the president knew on the 26th of January that this had happened. But his disloyalty or his trust didn't take an impact until
here's
yesterday.
Right, because President Trump didn't know what actually was said in those conversations. President Trump admits today he didn't fire General Flynn because he had a conversation. He fired General Flynn because he lied to the Vice President of the United States and embarrassed him. That's why he got fired.
Shouldn't he have been fired for talking to the Russian ambassador about sanctions?
Well, those are real questions that need to be asked. We actually need to see the full transcript of the conversation.
Right.
But I think, the New York Times expose that came out really injected a gigantic jolt of momentum behind the Flynn story, and I think really underscored, some real questions that need to be asked, like which high-level officials within the Trump campaign were speaking with the Russians? Why were they speaking with the Russians so frequently? A known adversary of the United States, why weren't they talking with our allies like the Japanese or the Germans or folks in Great Britain? What was the need to have the ongoing frequent conversations with the Russians? This is a nation, by the way, that Donald Trump has continued to caress and hug its leader, Vladimir Putin, at the same time that just days ago they launched a cruise missile in violation of a treaty with us, number one. And number two, they have a spy boat, flying in the ocean, sailing in the ocean, pardon me, off the coast of Delaware.
These are all great questions, but we're completely speculating at this point. And so the problem is,
could that be a transparency issue?
No, it means an investigation needs to be done,
right.
And if there is a there, then let's have that conversation. But right now, we're just speculating from a chair.
You mentioned leaks, and it was interesting watching Jake Tapper today on that. And when you go back and you look at what Donald Trump was saying about leaks as on the campaign trail as a candidate, let's have a quick listen. It's not very long.
WikiLeaks. The wonder of WikiLeaks. 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 Some new stuff in WikiLeaks.
Multiple. I mean, we could have run a much longer clip of that.
Sure.
So, is it that the president he liked leaks before he didn't like them?
I'm sure there's a degree of that, but there is a big difference, just like I was saying earlier, in the sense of WikiLeaks was hacked by a foreign government. These leaks allegedly are coming from our own government, our own civil servants, and that's a dramatic departure from a foreign government.
That's a fair point.
I guess, but look, what's really, I think, scary at this point is you've got a White House, whether it's the president or you've got his high-level officials who have continued to lie to the American people. Hope Hicks, Sean Spicer, Vice President Mike Pence have all said that there were no conversations with the Russians. And then, of course, yesterday's New York Times story shows the complete opposite. I think that is really damaging to the credibility of the White House.
Dave Jacobson and John Thomas. We've got to leave it there, unfortunately, but you are going to be back a little bit later this evening because we only just scratched the surface. There's a lot to talk about.
Great.